everybody, welcome back to my channel. I'm Danielle. I'm a registered psychotherapist who specializes in cognitive behavior therapy. Now today, I wasn't even planning on making a video, but I have been reading this really interesting book that I wanted to share with you. It kind of offers a new perspective and a new light into mental health. So this is the book. It is called The Happiness Trap. So for those of you who haven't heard about it before, it is based on acceptance and commitment therapy, which is a newer behavioral therapy. It's basically a third wave cognitive behavioral therapy, so to speak. And it basically asserts that in order to find happiness and to have that in our life, we need to walk away from doing things consistent with how we feel and to do things that are more consistent with our values and what is important to us, which is really, really interesting in my opinion, because in our society, we do a lot of things based on how we feel. It's so common to want to, negate any kind of negative emotion or any unpleasant feeling that we have. I do the same thing all the time. I want to be happy all the time. But the reality is, so many emotions come in. Our life changes all the time. Different things happen. We fall out of our routine. We become anxious. Whatever. It shows us that emotions will come and go, and we really have very little control over them, which is kind of unfortunate. I wish it wasn't true, but it seems like it just kind of is that way. Maybe you feel the same way. So basically what this book is trying to suggest is that we need to live a life based on what we value. So what are the things that you value in your life? It even says in this book that when we strive for happiness, sometimes it can get worse. Our emotions can get worse. So for example, I can think about this in my own life. If I'm bored at home, I might open a bag of chips and I eat it. And then afterwards I kind of feel a little bit guilty about that because I value my health. I value fitness and things like that. So I feel guilty. In the moment, I feel comforted. It is a comfort food, essentially. But in the long term, it kind of makes me feel guilty, right? And I guess the same is true, if you come home, you've had a stressful day at work, and you get angry at your partner. You lash out. How do you feel after? Chances are you feel even more angry, possibly even guilty. And I don't know about you, but I know for me, sometimes the thoughts continue to go around and around in my head. I should have said this or I should have said that, right? So basically, what acceptance and commitment therapy and this book is trying to suggest is that we cannot lead a life that is consistent with our emotions all the time. We need to think about what is important to us, what do we value, and live a life based on those things. It definitely sounds simple. It certainly is not simple, I must say. But, when I think about it in this way, in our society, we have an endless supply of self-help resources out there, and yet 30% of our population every year is struggling with mental illness. And that is only what's reported. Can you imagine how high that number would be if everybody reported how they were feeling? It would be pretty high probably. So maybe this book is onto something here. Maybe acceptance and commitment therapy is onto something, and we should be looking a little bit more in that direction of how do I live a value-based life, so to speak. And in this book, what they talk about is a lot of different strategies about how to be mindful of your emotions and how not to act on them when we want to. It's so common to that can actually be the hardest part, is not acting on your emotions in the moment. Right? We have this huge, intense urge to do something about it, but this book is suggesting don't, and just sit there and wait. So steps to escape this happiness trap, so to speak, they would suggest, one, identify your values and live a life based on that. Don't act on your feelings. Try to act as much as you can on what you value in life. So take, for example, you're walking in the forest and you come across a bear. How are you going to feel? If it were me, I'd feel like hugely terrified and fearful, and my natural response would be, I'm going to run. I'm going to get out of here. However, experts would suggest that this would only aggravate the bear, right? And if you value your life, if you value living and staying alive, what should you be doing instead? You should be standing there slowly and slowly moving away, which totally goes against how you feel and your emotions of that intense fear. But I think what this image depicts is that we can act differently than what our emotions suggest. We want to act in a way that is in accordance with what we value. So I would strongly suggest picking up this book if you're somebody who does struggle with this, of trying to be happy all the time and not being able to find it. Another thing that is interesting too is, have you ever noticed that when you do try to control your emotions all the time, you can feel almost incompetent, or that you have failed on some level because you can't control those emotions? This book kind of ties into that as well. So if you're looking for a lot of different strategies in how to help you live a life that is in accordance with your values, and how to embrace those emotions that you have that are both pleasant and unpleasant, I would highly suggest doing that. I'm definitely not getting endorsed at all by this book. I just find it's really helpful in my life, and I think it would be helpful in yours too. So again, thank you guys so much for watching this video, and I will probably add some more videos about the more that I read in this book, if it's very helpful to me as well. All right, if you like this video, feel free to give it a thumbs up and subscribe if you like. Take good care.